Superman, shoulder workouts, and real estate. What do those have in common today? A lot. Let's get into it. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I don't know if you guys have seen it. But Corn Sweat, I know it's not how you say his name, but it's hilarious. Corn Sweat.
That's not how you say his name.
It's like Corn Schweed or something like that.
For real, forever. You told me his name and introduced me to him, so I thought his name was Corn Sweat.
That's what it is forever. I literally have never heard somebody pronounce it differently, but I don't. I have not been out recently, but his new super suit's here. Here it is. His new super suit. Well, I guess it's not really his new suit, but it's the new images for the movie. I think he looks great. I think the colors that they chose are very interesting and imaginative and very creative. I think, the blurred lines. I think it looked modern. I think it was good. You can already kind of tell that they touched up the suit a little bit. I'm a big comic book nerd. I'm big on all of that. I love everything comic book related, so I had to talk about it. This is not a commentary channel. This is just like what we do in a day, our thoughts in a day, and it just how it happens that they put out the poster today, so we're talking about it, and we love it.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about Superman, right, the reason why I really enjoy speaking about it is because, like, it's so many people's unspoken body goals, right? I don't even know if that's, like, cliche to say, but it's really hard to deny how buff Henry Cavill was and how not buff Corn Sweat was when he first started, and that caused a lot of controversy, right? People were yapping about it online. I'm in so many different like nerd group chats and group pages talking about how they don't like Corn Sweat, stuff like that. But like from my point of view, like as a bodybuilder, as an actor, been in musical theater, been in some short films, things like that, and I do want to upgrade and be in more movies. Like I think that one, Hollywood magic is Hollywood magic for a reason. And then second, like some actors have had the privilege of being ready and not having to get ready. And I think the type of roles Henry Cavill got when he really like came into his own were a lot of buff guy roles. And Corn Sweat did not have a lot of buff guy roles, right? Like he was in, I think it was called Hollywood, a TV show he was in, and then he did the Twister movie. Didn't require that, and now as he's in his bulking phase, people were commenting about his look and his size. I'm like, bro, like some people's genetics, they don't look as good bulked, but then when they trim down, they look amazing and better than people who may look better bulked, but then when they trim down, their muscles don't sit as well. So that also remains to be seen. Like, what is Corn Sweat really going to look like? And I think that that's fair, and I think honestly at the end of the day, like, and this is typically a position I wouldn't take, I don't think it matters, right? I think the fact that Corn Sweat was picked for his acting ability showcases that Hollywood is in a new direction, right? Because I think so many people were picked in current roles for their looks, for their orientation, for their presentation, but not really for their acting abilities and what they bring to the character. And everything that I've been seeing, everything that I've been hearing, James Gunn has been saying that Corn Sweat is the right actor for the role. So as much as I love Henry Cavill, and I was one of the Zack Snyder Knights, right, who was axing all things James Gunn because of how they did our boy dirty, I'm going to tune into this just out of the love for the character. And if you know anything about Henry Cavill, I'm sure he would be very on that side of the table as well. Like, he is a big comic book nerd himself, so I know that he would be more than happy if fans were to embrace this new Superman as he was embraced. Obviously we don't know him personally, but I would assume, based off of everything that you've seen of him, that he would be on that side of the table, wanting that same type of embrace and attention. And I know you're not a big superhero person, but what do you think?
Well, the more that you share about it and share like the accuracies of like this new character, it does make me more excited, because I think people would prefer and generally like to hear accurate stories or like more true tellings of things, because it's how the original piece was supposed to be seen and understood. So I'm getting excited to see it. And then obviously other like superhero things that like I don't necessarily know about, sometimes they come across as a good story. And then you come in and you give me the facts and like the details of why it's not a great story. And it seems like such simple little nuances and little fixes that they could have done to make it a great story. So I'm hoping to see a great story.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the modern movies, just in general, not even superhero movies, like it seems like the people do not, if it's an original story, they threw it together and they didn't understand that there's such thing as plot holes. And if it's a comic book story that they're telling, it seems like they hired somebody who may have been a great director who has produced great films in the past, but they are not very up to tempo or engaged in the actual source material enough to put together a solid enough story, right? Solid enough story that can stand up the test of time. Like, because they're up against George Lucas, they're up against Bryan Singer's, they're up against these directors who truly understand the characters and read the comics, and they're up against Henry Cavill's, who grew up reading Superman, so it's really hard in The Witcher, right? That's why that whole controversy happened. They're up against people who genuinely know the stories in and out, so when you're putting together a story that literally cancels out 6 years of canon material, is very difficult as a director to sell that product moving forward, because it's not like people are gonna not know that something wasn't done, or they're not gonna, like, the audience is going to forget about a continuity situation, right? So, I know we briefly talked about Corn Sweat's look and things like that, but it was really making me think, like, since I'm an actor, I've been doing a lot of roles, and I really gravitate towards serious roles and serious tonalities, dark tonalities, very, like, classic projects, not quite as classic as Shakespeare, even though I did do Midsummer Night's Dream, but also being buff has hindered a lot of, not necessarily like the work, but it's hindered like your perception. So as we're talking about a Corn Sweat versus Cavill, we're talking about Hollywood, we're talking about acting, we're talking about imagination, we're talking about this man's career, we're talking about where is Corn Sweat after Superman, and after the movie comes out, is he going to just take off roles, or is he going to do Superman 2 and Superman 3 and Justice League type stuff, and that would be hindered by his size to certain degrees. Obviously The Rock is a pioneer of being able to be big and doing other acting roles and things like that, and that world is opening up, but in terms of like Oscar bait, right, Oscar quality stuff, which a lot of these actors are after, that is something to consider, that you will most likely and maybe get stifled into roles that they would prefer you not to be of a certain size. So when I go into audition rooms, they're looking like a Gaston, they're looking for Beast, they're looking for big menacing characters, but you hear my voice, I'm a tenor 1, and then I don't really have certain energies for a Beast, or I don't want to be the jock bad guy in Heathers. Like, I would prefer to be the JDs. I would prefer to play Dear Evan Hansen, things like that, which is difficult when you're touching on certain types of areas and topics like that. So I'm very excited to see what Corn Sweat does with his body moving forward. In terms of, like, is he going to keep his size on, or what, or if Henry Cavill decides to slim down, things like that. So that's something I was thinking about. Yeah. And we're back for the fitness side. We are doing shoulder raises as I, unrobe, derobe, anti-robe. This is what we're doing. So we started off, I didn't show it, we did shoulder presses on the Smith machine. We did a little bit more kind of like incline presses to still activate the shoulders. Right now we're doing just the side lateral raises, right? So how does this affect you? How do you experience the shoulder raises?
I like them. I like you changed the form for me a little bit, going starting from behind your back and coming out, and getting more what is it, like extension or like pump
Yeah.
in that
More like mobility,
muscle.
like more like a full range of motion.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's definitely more effective.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people like stop right at 90 degrees, go up to the other I guess it would be a 0 degrees then to 90 degrees, and they stop, and it's not really like a full range of motion to get your full circular shoulder going. If you go a little bit behind yourself or a little bit in front of yourself, you have more of that stretch that you're after to get the full activation of the muscles. So I think you might be doing it that same way. Yeah, you reach behind, which is good. This was like your second set, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like my second.
Yeah. The focus is there.
Yeah.
We're not mad.
Also, it's not a good example to talk about the golden ratio while I'm on camera, but to get the golden ratio, it's all about like your shoulders. Okay.
It's like your shoulder to waist ratio. So I probably should have pulled it up. It's like a specific number for like, you measure your shoulder all the way around, like your chest, shoulder, everything, and then you measure your waist, and it's supposed to hit some type of specific number, which is like the prime attractive number for, being seen as such. Like broad shoulders, small waist gives the hour, like men have their own like type of hourglass look, but it's not really an hourglass look. It's just like an image that when women or even men see it, that's like the most attractive, imposing, successful type of look to have for your body. And you see it in pretty much all forms of media. There's a reason why the specific types of dudes are like the only sexiest men alive lists, or like bodybuilding classic is the most popular form of bodybuilding, and things like that. So yeah, that's where we're at. We're doing some more side laterals here. I don't know, I think I'm talking about yapping about something. But yeah, like basically like what we were talking about shoulder wise, like shoulders is like my favorite group to work, because I feel like for me it just blew up overnight, right? Like they're not massive just yet, but compared to what they were, they are massive, right? And I like it because of how it makes the whole frame sit different. Like when your shoulders are peeking out and you have big shoulders, like it makes everything that you have better. Even if you don't have crazy ab structures, if you have broad shoulders, like you look way stronger, you look more imposing, you look more handsome, things like that. And then if you start to have striations in your shoulder, I think it gives your bodybuilding, your aesthetic look that much more, it's that much more appealing to look at. One thing I do need to work on more is just getting my biceps properly sized to meet everything else, and my triceps properly sized. Just genetically, it's a little bit harder for me to grow my biceps and triceps, just for whatever reason, but we're putting a lot more emphasis on that this year, and that's where we're at. But this, like I see, shoulders are peaking.
Yeah.
We're not mad about it. It was a good solid look. So I would say like your goal, if you want to grow big shoulders, is really push past all the limits. Like obviously not to where you're hurting yourself or anything like that, but like your body has certain stoppers in it that's going to make you think that you need to stop for your own safety. And the first one is never true. So the first time you get the red flag, like you're burning, you're like, oh, I should probably stop. If you pass past that one and then keep going a little bit more, you're also going to realize just how much your body and your mind is holding you back. So you have to take hold of that and push forward so you can, really come into what you could look like and what you could be. But now we're doing front shoulders. How did you like these front ones?
I liked them a lot. Usually I don't enjoy using like the cable for this because I feel like it always just goes in a compromising location. But that day actually I watched a video of another female lifter, and she was saying to not have that happen, you just like hinge forward at the hips a little bit and you stand closer to where the cable comes out.
Yep. I was gonna say if you step back closer to where the cable comes out, it doesn't happen, because obviously guys experience the same thing. You just have to go further on it. Obviously you get more of like a tension if you go further out, but just to save yourself, you can back up and do that a little bit. But we're also using this, is for rear delts, but it's supposed to be for like your back workout. But what we're doing is stopping before we're really starting to use a lot of our back pinching to focus right on the rear delts, which gives you that circular look overall, because a lot of people have front shoulders. Most of the people have front shoulders. Small amount of people have side shoulders. No one has rear delts. right? So you can see on this set right here, I kind of stop. My back is engaging a little bit just because you can't help it from the motion, but I'm not really pinching my back at all. And I'm going really slow and controlled, focusing on the back of the shoulders, which is going to give you that nice circular look for your shoulder. And I think it might be the camera angle, but it looks like my shoulders are kind of lopsided, so I'm going to have to do some form adjustment to make sure we're not building diagonally, right? That's not a good look for classic. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one thing that helped, and I was surprised by it, that actually like filming ourselves and then watching it back, the last time we did it, he was telling me I was engaging my back too much, and I just like couldn't get my head wrapped around it. Like I was trying to drop my shoulder blades and just feel it in the back of my shoulder, but it just like wasn't clicking. And then after watching the video, I was like, oh, I see it now. And then this time doing shoulders, I really just could focus on isolating that rear delt, and it was nice. Yeah, so we filmed 3 of my sets on that. If you take anything away from the fitness side of this, is really focus on the workouts that don't get hit otherwise. So doing chest, you're going to hit front shoulders. And then if you're doing proper form presses, you're going to hit a little bit of front shoulders because you're not diagonal. You're not 90 degrees. You're actually diagonal, pushing them up when you're doing shoulder presses, which is going to hit the front shoulders. And then, obviously a little bit of people have side shoulders, and that's through side laterals, which are very popular. But most people, you'll see them hunch forward or too much chest. Working chest also pulls your chest in to make you have that slumped section. So if you want to have that superhero type of structure, right, then you have to balance it out by doing a lot of back and a lot of rear delts, which pulls everything back. You definitely, he has the best posture that I've ever seen. So it has to be that. And he's fixed my posture. Maybe you can't tell with how I'm sitting right now. But
yeah, I'm not sitting
I had super like slumpy shoulders, and like my hips would like hinge forward without even like registering it. And so really focusing on like back of the shoulder and like back workouts really has helped my posture. And then just having him remind me, because it makes a huge difference just in like body comfort. Yeah, you feel much better when you're like online and on point, and as you're working out, everything does sit a little bit better. So if you take anything away from the fitness side, it's that. Now we're back to it. And since we're talking about Superman, we have to talk about the market in Kansas. Jonathan and Martha Kent most likely will be in a great position to sell their house if they choose to. If they want to move to Metropolis, I would be a great resource for them. Loan officer in all 50 states. I'm a realtor here in California. In Colorado. You're doing a deal in California. So.
Since I am allowed to assist in those, contracts are up 17%. The market's up about 2.9%. Inventory staying steady. I think it's around 17% as of October 2024. Prices did rise about 7.2%. So that's good for sellers. Not the best news for buyers, but it is good for buyers. So when you buy now, as it continues to rise, your property does get more valuable. You have more equity, can play around with it, cash out refis, or sell it and pocket it and buy your next investment, things like that. House price, the median house price about October 2024 was about $320,000, which sounds like a lot. And then in Kansas, it is kind of a lot, but it's nothing compared to the hotter markets like Colorado, California, New York. Their median house prices are in the 500,000s. So if that's any indication, it is still a great market to buy in. It's a great market to plant roots in and be very assured that your property will continue to increase. A good rule of thumb I always say is if you're worried about the area that you're buying in, find a comparable area in a mirroring city or a city that is almost topped out. So like, since I'm in Colorado, I'm like, okay, so what's a comparable city to Denver that's in California? Oh, I think it's Los Angeles, right? So I start searching around Los Angeles, and I'm like, okay, if the median house price in Los Angeles is $700,000 and in Denver it's $650,000, I know that there's and then it's slowing down. Like if it's slowing down in California, that's a good word of thought. So if it's not slowing down in Denver, you're pretty much safe to buy at 650, knowing that you potentially your house will increase by at least 50,000 and be safe before it starts to slow down. So when you're buying at the top end of the market, you have to be very cognizant, very aware that your money may not go as far as it would have if the market is still like booming, right? So something to consider about the market. Kansas is doing wonderful. Martha and Jonathan probably are sitting on so much equity. They've been at this farmhouse forever. If you're going by the continuity of Batman versus Superman, Batman bought the house for them, so the house is free and clear. He bought the bank.
He bought them a house?
He bought the whole bank that owns the house. So he bought them a house. And
remember when he said he was a comic book nerd?
Yes. This is the movie and not like the comics, but
Oh,
we're putting you on.
Excuse me.
We're putting you on. But yes, he bought the bank, and then so I'm sure they're sitting on at least $300,000 worth of equity. So if Clark ever wants to take a break from the Daily Planet, we know where he can go. He can, refi, cash out, buy his little penthouse in Metropolis, or probably not buy it, but at least rent it, supplement his Daily Planet salary for a little bit, and Martha and Kent would be just fine. Or just call up Batman, and I'm sure, which has always been a question of mine. How come Batman's letting all his other Justice League niggas go broke all the time? Like, he's not just like giving them salaries. Like, they are providing a service that he is also the lead in. Forget it. I'm talking too much.
I was gonna say maybe like the money trail.
Yeah.
What's the golden or the Green Lantern's name?
Hal Jordan.
Adam. Oh. Hal, if they see like he's getting paid by
Bruce Wayne.
Taxes by Bruce Wayne, they're like, why is Bruce Wayne paying you?
Well,
why is he also paying Diana? Why is he also paying?
But that's a hole in the whole continuity, because what's funny is that they damage the city all the time in the Justice League TV show, and they all like look at Batman when it's time to like fork over some money, and he's like, I got it, but we're not doing this again. So he must be paying in cash.
But the Justice League people are just looking at him.
Yeah, the Justice League people like know that he's rich, so they basically take advantage of him.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I really just think it'd be easily tracked.
Yes.
And he's like, do you guys want a salary? Do you want a paycheck, or do you want me to fix the city? Maybe he gave them a choice.
And knowing Superman, he probably would be like, just fix the city.
Yeah.
We've reached the end of the video, but before you go, the quote of the day, which is my favorite quote of all time, from the Joker. In my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed, but I do, and people are starting to notice. All right.